Mr. Philp, lovely to see you this morning as ever. The Sunday Express front page quotes your former colleague David Jones, who's defected to Reform, the latest Tory to do so, claiming that the migrant deal with France, quotes, won't stop a single boat. Do you agree with that analysis?
Good morning, Camilla. Yes, I do, because under this so-called deal, it's really a bit of a gimmick in my view. Only 6% of illegal immigrants crossing the Channel will get sent back to France. The other 94% will get to stay in the UK. And obviously, having 94% of illegal immigrants staying in the UK will not act as any deterrent at all. It's another gimmick, just like Keir Starmer's Smash the Gang gimmick a year or so ago, which you'll notice he never mentions anymore, because so far this year we've seen record ever numbers of illegal immigrants crossing the English Channel, the highest number in history so far this year. And I'm afraid this so-called deal, this gimmick last week, is going to make no difference to that whatsoever.
Well, you say it's a gimmick. The Tories were constantly banging on about stopping the boats and smashing the gangs. And it must have been a gimmick when you were doing it, because you didn't do either, did you?
Well, not entirely, Camilla. So first of all, in 2023, the calendar year, that was our last full year in office, we actually got the small boat numbers down by about 30%. So that was quite a big step in the right direction. And we then had, the second step in the plan was to basically remove 100% of arrivals the minute their feet touched the shore, using the Rwanda scheme. And obviously common sense tells you that if you've got a 100% or close to 100% chance of getting removed, then you're not going to bother attempting the crossing in the first place. Something very similar worked in Australia about 12 years ago. Now that went through a whole load of legal challenges. We had to pass a new law through Parliament. It was ready to go last summer. It was ready to go at the end of July, just after the election, but it was handed to Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper on a plate. And what did they do? They cancelled it just a few days before it was due to start.
All right.
And as a consequence, instead of continuing the downward trend, immigration across the Channel, illegal immigration, has surged by over 40% since the election, and it's now been the worst year in history, thanks to their ineptitude.
Although there's an interesting expose in the Mail on Sunday entitled "Boat Migrants' Crazy Golf Trips on You." And this is talking about Kent County Council splurging all sorts of staggering sums, including £102 on Fortnum and Mason goods, Disney and Netflix subscriptions worth 10 grand, an Amazon bill of 162,000, all apparently, according to Zia Youssef, that was ascribed to the asylum budget. I was reading this story thinking, what is this nonsense? How could this have happened? And then I realised that it must have happened under the Conservatives' watch, because before the last local elections, wasn't Kent in control of the Conservatives?
Yeah, well, I don't know when that expenditure was incurred or whether it was paid by the Home Office. It could have happened after the last election. I don't know, because it's the Home Office that runs the asylum budget. But everything you just read out, Camilla, without question, is a total... OK, well, the year to June of this year, that's obviously after the last general election. Whoever was responsible, frankly, that is an outrageous waste of money.
You were in charge until the locals, which were in May. So it's mostly on your watch, isn't it?
That was Kent County Council. Well,
yes,
yeah, but just as the Home Office runs the asylum budget, and Labour have been Labour have been running the Home Office since July of last year. But frankly, whoever was responsible, that should obviously never have happened. That is absolutely outrageous. And I can tell you one thing: if I become Home Secretary, that nonsense will stop completely.
What did you make of Macron saying that Brits have been sold a lie on Brexit? I mean, to be fair, the French president's not wrong, is he? Boris Johnson kept on banging on about us taking back control of our borders, and then seemed intensely relaxed about mass migration.
Well, I mean, first of all, I don't think politicians in any country should denigrate the results of democratic elections, whether those are referenda or national elections. I think any politician of any colour and in any country should respect elections when they happen and respect the views of the public. And to say, oh, they made a mistake or all that kind of stuff, I think is actually damaging to democracy. So I think those words were not particularly well chosen. Look, on the levels of legal migration in recent years, I've said it before, Camilla, I've said it to you, I'll say it again, they have been far, far too high under successive governments for very many years, but including recent years, they've been far, far too high. So, as we've discussed previously, we need to have a binding annual cap set by Parliament.
I'm not going to stop asking you what the cap should be.
We haven't announced the number yet. We haven't. You keep asking, and we are going to come up with a number. It won't be this morning. It'll be at a far lower level than anything we've seen in recent years, because it's been far too high. We must end the era of mass low-skilled migration. It's got to stop.
Why hasn't the Conservatives said that the whole Motability scheme should be reassessed? I was absolutely staggered to read that people are able to claim Motability vehicles. So these are taxpayer-funded vehicles. They currently account for 1 in 5 new car sales in the UK. Let me find it. Good God. 20 people claimed cars for food intolerance. 20 people claimed cars for constipation. 150 cars were given to people with a frozen shoulder. Probably not the best idea to drive under such circumstances. Oh, this is my favourite, as it's the men's final at Wimbledon today. 40 cars given for people suffering tennis elbow.
That is clearly ridiculous, right? Those people with the conditions you just read out, Camilla, should not be getting free cars paid for by the taxpayer. As you said, 1 in 5 new cars in the UK is given out under this scheme. So I think, first of all, those conditions you just read out, they should not be eligible for free cars paid for by the taxpayer, obviously. But secondly, we need to have much better evaluations of who is or is not disabled. It's been being done over the phone since COVID. That has to end. As Kemi said in her speech, I think on Thursday, we need to have face-to-face, proper face-to-face medical examinations, so that only people who are actually genuinely disabled get all of these extra benefits, whether it's Motability cars or the extra money, instead of having people with, a bit of anxiety or whatever, signed off and given a lot of extra cash. We simply can't afford it as a country. We tabled amendments in Parliament, I think it was last week, to tighten up on this. For example, those face-to-face examinations, but Labour voted against those. So we have actually a really clear dividing line in British politics. Labour and Reform as well, actually, wanting higher benefit payments. For example, Reform want to get rid of the 2-child benefit cap so people can have 6 children, subsidised by hard-working taxpayers. We Conservatives are the only party who want to reform welfare, get this expenditure down. It's forecasting to go to 100 billion by 2030.
Well, it went up by 86
because it'll
billion.
drive taxes for the rest of us up.
It went up by 86 billion under the Tories. But let's just move on because we're running out of time. The Prime Minister's having his 7th reset, refresh, whatever you want to call it, of the year. He might reshuffle his cabinet. Who does Chris Philp think should be the first to go?
Goodness me, there are so many to choose from. Well, I think, frankly, Keir Starmer himself should be the first to go, because he is the one who has presided over massive tax increases. No, fair enough. OK, Rachel Reeves then.
OK, come
because,
on. Rachel Reeves and that's a bit unfair. She was in tears last week.
Because well, look, she has presided over massive tax increases. They lied about it before the last election. They said there weren't going to be any tax rises. Then they put up massive tax rises in the budget last October, which has caused unemployment to go up every single month of the Labour government. It's now 12% higher than last year, and it's caused the economy to shrink. Our economy has shrunk for the last 2 months in a row.
I'm not clear what Kemi Badenoch's economic philosophy is. I don't think the public is either.
Hang on, let me finish this point, then Well, she wrote a thing in the Telegraph about this today. So, look, let me finish the point. Let me finish the point about Labour. They're going to put taxes up even further in the autumn because they don't have the courage to reform welfare. Kemi set out a different approach, controlling welfare, reduce the size of the state, and that will enable the tax base to get down. Kemi is the only leader who is articulating a carefully thought out, credible policy to get this tax burden off the shoulders of hard-working people. But under this Labour government, it's only going in one direction. It's getting worse and worse and worse.
OK. Chris Philp, thank you very much indeed, as ever, for your time this morning.